So part of the other reason that I came here was that New York has a special role in this. We do not, as a state, rely very heavily on coal for our electricity. I think one of the numbers I saw was somewhere around 7%. It's a small amount. But the city of New York remains the finance capital of the world. And what does that mean? It means when you need $200 billion and you're in industry, you come to New York. And you come to the structure of finance that is this city. JP Morgan, Citibank, all the big banks, the rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, the people who are the watchdogs over the finance industry, the investment professionals, associations and organizations, all headquartered in New York, the business media, Bloomberg, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, major presences in New York. And then, oddly enough, the biggest coal trading association in the country is in New York City. I don't know why, but it's been that way since 1913. They meet regularly in the city and bring in all the coal producers from around the country and increasingly around the world to meet here in New York. So the campaign has been thinking that is there a strategic way to enlist environmental activists? You can't hear? Excuse me?
Can you give us the address?
The address of there's 4 of them that are taking place. There's one taking place next month, March 5th, the New York Coal Trading Association. That's their annual meeting. It's the biggest meeting in the country of the coal industry, March 5th at the Millennium Hotel. JP Morgan has its annual board meeting here where shareholders and others can participate. I understand the Sierra Club is attempting to, National is attempting to put some resources into making that event more public and then challenging their continued financing of the coal plants around the country. There's another finance group called the McCloskey Group, which is it's a trade group that specializes in coal trading around the world. It runs a conference in June for the coal industry. It's a lower level analyst one, but it's very important. The other ones are the CEO types. That's in June. And then at the end of the year, there's what's called the Coal Trading Association meeting. That's done annually where they assess where they've been during the year, and then they plan for what will be going on next year. And then there are also other meetings all over the country of different local and regional coal organizations. It's an industry, it's organized. And we were hoping that people who are active in New York City might want to develop some kind of action or media work around this. And our thought was, although this is obviously subject to discussion with everyone, that the message for this is that for any kind of event, which would be media targeted, because in some instances where we go after the utility companies, we're trying to convince them to do alternatives, and we're trying to convince them to move into the right kinds of technology and list them somewhat as partners. Same for public authorities, the same for the cooperatives that are generating electricity around the country. The coal industry itself is a different beast. We're basically saying to them, we don't want you to do business, which is a tougher fight to make. So we figure the message is really to the media at such an event. And the message would be, there's no such thing as clean coal. The technology is decades away, if ever. The new coal plants are dirty coal plants. And they're bad economics, and we shouldn't be bailing them out. We need to stop mountaintop removal, which I did not talk about. When I mentioned the coal that comes from Appalachia, a lot of it increased, and I talked a little bit about the difficulty of getting coal out of the ground in some places around the country. Well, the technique used in Appalachia is literally to lop off the tops of the mountains. If anyone's ever seen it, and you can go, I don't know the exact Google, but if you put in something like stop mountaintop removal into Google, you'll find a couple couple of very good websites with videos that show how this is taking place.
Google Earth.
Google Earth.
Google Earth, and like they'll put you on a tour.
They'll put you on the business and explain. Yeah, they'll be able to show you a flyover of the mountains. But the other interesting thing that one of the websites shows you is if you're, and it won't show for New York, but if you live in an area and you get your electricity from a coal plant, they'll show you which mine it comes from and which mountaintop's being destroyed as a result of your electricity. It's quite fascinating. They did the Appalachian Voices. Yeah, Appalachian Voices did this with Google's cooperation, and they put together a fascinating way of looking at the issue. And then the third message for us would be that energy efficiency and renewables are more viable. Now, I mentioned that before, but I wanted to make my point as clear as I could possibly be. Spent a lot of time investing lots of money with the pension funds that I've been involved in. If I was to make and be in that position today, I could not, as a responsible investor, put money into coal plants. I could put money into certain wind projects. I could put it into utilities that were moving forward with energy efficiency models. And I could probably put it into most solar forms of technology at this point and receive the rates of return that I would be required to receive under law while being violating my responsibilities. I could still invest in oil as well, but I think, honestly speaking, coal you should no longer invest in as a responsible fiduciary. So,
What about geothermal energy?
I think that let me just put it this way: I think there are some projects that would work. I'm a conservative investor. I'm not going to say yes off the top. I don't know enough about it. That's how I would put it in terms of an investment. The other ones I've looked at as investments. I've looked at in terms of industries that can grow in states that are sponsoring these industries. They are up and coming growth industries. They are labor intensive. They work with not only getting an adequate return, but the economics of solar, the economics of wind, and the economics of energy efficiency is more healthy economically for a community. I just want to take a minute and then I'll finish. Think about it this way. You're paying your electric bill, and the electric bill is coming out of a coal plant. You send it to your local utility. The local utility takes a third of it, sends it to Wall Street for the debt, and a third of it to the coal companies out west for the coal, and a third of it maybe for local jobs. Right? If you take wind, you're investing in the state. And many of these states are producing their own businesses. That money stays within the state and gets reinvested within the states, or and to hopefully be reinvested with the utility, who has also figured out how to make money out of energy efficiency models. So that employs people locally. So while you're going to see jobs produced by coal plants, lots of construction jobs over a 2 or 3 year period, and then some long-term permanent jobs, the renewable industry is going to create a slower number of jobs, but they are permanent, and the investment takes place over a longer period of time. And it's just as profitable. So I'm going to end it there. People want to ask questions. That's my answer.
I actually heard something about that in Texas.